Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends, our sutta for discussion today is the Nalakalapa Sutta from the Samyutta Nikaya or connected discourses of the Buddha. This sutta is in the section on dependent origination or Paticca Samuppada. I think I explained Paticca Samuppada, the meaning last time, but what it means is that everything is dependent on something else. As we go on, you will realize it. But instead of the 12 links in dependent origination, this sutta has only 10 links. Though the dependent origination formula starts with ignorance and ends with pain, grief, and despair, this sutta starts with birth and ends with consciousness. Friends, I want to bring your attention to an important aspect when discussing the Dhamma. The meaning of the Pali words are very often not possible to be translated into another language like English to bring out the exact meaning of the word. Just to take a few examples, even the word bhavana is given as meditation in English. According to the dictionary, the meaning of meditation is to engage in continuous and contemplative thought or think about or consider. Now, meditation is not thinking. In Pali, it's mental development of tranquility and insight, that is, to attain panya. Panya is translated as wisdom. In English, it means the power of true and right discernment, the insight knowledge I must first tell you about the English translation. In English, it is given as the power of true and right discernment, a good practical judgment, and common sense. In Pali, panya means the insight knowledge, which brings about realization or nibbana, penetration of anicca, impermanence, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, non-self. So you can see the difference in meaning. Coming back to the sutta, Venerable Mahakottita questions Venerable Sariputta about dependent origination. Both are great arahants, and the discussion may be for the benefit of the monks in training. The first question is, this. Is aging and death created by oneself or by another or by both? Or has it arisen by chance? Now, Venerable Sariputta answers, with birth as condition, aging and death comes to be. So, there is no creator, but it's a cause and result. That is effect, cause and effect. So, that is what the Buddha has taught, right? So, this is what Venerable Sariputta says, and it is the Buddha's Dhamma. Now, after this first question, Venerable Mahakottita continues questioning the Venerable Sariputta, and altogether there are 9 questions. I'm not going into the question because it is the same type of 4 aspects, but each one on a different word that Venerable Sariputta gives. So the second one is it's like a dialogue. And so Venerable Sariputta is answering now. Now the question was, what is birth, right? Is it like this? Is it done by one or done by both, or just by chance? So Venerable Sariputta says, birth happens because of existence, bhava. Then after that, the Venerable Sariputta goes on explaining to each question. Then the question might have been about existence. So the Venerable Sariputta says, then existence comes due to clinging, upadana. And craving or tanha is the cause for clinging. It's feeling or vedana that brings about craving. And feeling happens because of contact, phassa. The 6 sense bases, salayatana, causes contact. The 6 sense bases depend on body and mind, rupa, nama rupa. Nama rupa is activated by consciousness, vijnana. Consciousness needs nama rupa to function. Now I'll go back so that you will understand it better. Now, consciousness needs nama rupa to function, and nama rupa needs consciousness to do the work. Nama rupa. Now nama rupa is the body and mind. Then the body and mind needs, or it activates through the 6 senses. The 6 senses. Then the 6 sense bases or 6 senses are called salayatana. The 6 senses are or activate through contact, right? Contact. Then contact is or happens because of craving. And craving happens because of feeling. And feeling happens because of contact, right? So then craving is the cause for clinging. Clinging causes craving. And existence happens because of clinging. And birth happens because of existence. And because of birth, aging and death happens. Can you see the 10 in line? Okay. So now Venerable Mahakottita asked Venerable Sariputta to explain how Vijnana and Namarupa come to depend on each other. You see, Vijnana and Namarupa, consciousness and name and form, body and mind. How these two depend on each other. Venerable Sariputta explains this by means of a simile, which has become the title of this sutta. The title is the two sheaves of reeds. So, just as two sheaves of reeds might stand leaning against each other. Now, they were leaning like this. You see? Now, if this is Namarupa, this is consciousness. The two reeds, the comparison, right? So, if they lean against each other, so too, name and form, Namarupa, body and mind, as condition, consciousness, Vijnana comes to be. So, Vijnana and Namarupa, or body and mind and consciousness, comes together like this. If one were to remove one of those sheaves, if one of them is abandoned or taken away, then what happens? The other one also would fall. That is the reeds, two reeds, right? So too, with cessation of Namarupa or body and mind, cessation of Vijnana comes to be. And with the cessation of Vijnana or consciousness, Namarupa or body and mind comes to be. So these two lean against each other, and if one falls, the other one also will fall. As we discussed dependent origination 2 weeks ago, I am going to focus on Namarupa and Vijnana, consciousness, today. You know, in the 5 aggregates, the 5 aggregates, we have talked about it many times. In the 5 aggregates, consciousness is one of the aggregates. But here, consciousness is taken away, right? So, you find in this, it's different. The Buddha says, now I'm going to tell you the Buddha's words in Pali. Katamancha bhikkave nama rupang vedana sanya chetana passo manasikaro idang uchati namang. This means, and what monks is name and form? Feeling, perception, intention, contact, and attention. This is called name or nama, or you can also call it mind. Chattaro cha mahabhuta chatunnang cha mahabhutang upadaya rupang idam uchati rupang. So now that is the wording of Pali about rupa. This means the 4 great elements and their derivatives and the form dependent on the 4 great elements. This is called form or rupa, body. The body is made up of the 4 elements and the derived elements, right? The derived ones, the derivatives. The form is both internal, that is the body, with its senses and derived form is external, that is the physical world. Let's look at Nama Rupa now. It has 5 factors, as we just now said. 5 factors. The first is feeling, Vedana, which may be bodily agreeable feeling. That is, agreeable means you like the feeling, right? A pleasurable feeling. And it's called Sukha in Pali. Then bodily disagreeable feeling, that is Dukkha, right? Then mentally, right? Now earlier it was the bodily agreeable and disagreeable. Now mentally agreeable feeling, that is called Chetasika Sukha. And bodily disagreeable feeling is called Chetasika Dukkha. And there is another component, that is indifferent or neutral feeling. That is called Upekha. With regard to the senses, there are 6 kinds of feeling associated with seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touch, and thinking. So, in relation to the senses, there are 6 kinds of feeling. A difference in feeling may decide whether a person is to be called a friend or a foe. When you see someone, whether you think of that person as a friend or a foe, then it is the feeling that makes you think so. The object, the sense base, and consciousness. Vijnana, right? Now there are 3 things that have to come together. The sense base, eye or ear or nose or whatever. And each sense has a different object, as you know that. And that object, the sense base and consciousness has to come. So that is why these 2 are inseparable. So when these 3 things come together, then the feeling arises. So this feeling that arises may be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Now, the vijnana becomes ego consciousness, right? Ego, that means me and mine. And when that awakens, sanya or perception causes thinking and forming views. Then what happens? You start speaking. So the speaking could be, of course, maybe a normal conversation, or it could be communication, or it could be an argument, might lead to an argument or a conflict even. So these are things that can happen due to the feeling. So if the object is pleasurable, craving may arise. Or if it is unpleasant, repulsive thoughts may arise. That is dislike or anger or something like that. Both are due, both repulsive as well as pleasurable, are due to delusion or ignorance. And at that stage, one may be powerless to control one's mind. The Buddha says to be truly happy, one should have the mind under one's control. You remember the Pali verse in Dhammapada, Mano Pubbangama Dhamma, which means mind is the master, mind is the maker, right? So, therefore, one should develop sati or mindfulness so that one's mental and physical efficiency is strengthened to give power to your mind and even the body. You have to have mindfulness. Then we may not react to situations rashly, but do so after thinking properly. Now, the second factor in this Nama Rupa is Sanya or perception. The function of perception or Sanya is recognition of objects, both physical and mental. Now, in the Dhamma, the marks are known as signs, like the color of the hair or the color of the skin or something like that. Sanya or perception also, like feelings or Vedana, is sixfold according to the senses. Then it's called sensual perception. Perception sees the distinguishing marks of an object that differentiates it from other objects. So, sanya or perception brings about memory also. But sanya often deceives us. When we fail to see the true nature of things, our views become clouded due to our earlier or past memories, attachments, likes or dislikes. We fail to see the sense objects as they truly are, so that our thoughts, ideas, and our seeing become perverted. One who clings to sense perceptions, wrong views, are always in conflict with the world, sometimes even at home, with your partner or with children or with friends. There is conflict. The third factor is chetana or intention. Now, chetana or intention can be called volition also. According to the Buddha, it could create karma. For having willed, that is, with the intention, wish to do something, one acts by deed, word, and thought. Intention is a deciding factor in all our activities, both good and bad. The result of or effect is known as karma vipaka. Yeah, the word vipaka means result. So when you say karma, it is the action. The action is not the result. The result is the cause of the action, right? This is what causes rebirth or jati. So the vipaka, karma vipaka, causes rebirth. This natural law shows that the doer is responsible for the actions and their consequences. If one picks up a broom to sweep, there is no karma. But if one assaults another with the broom, it may cause bad karma. And if one is cleaning around a stupa or a bodhi tree, it may cause good karma. Greed, hatred, and delusion may lead to unwholesome acts like, stealing, killing, insulting people, hurting, all kinds of things, right? Or they are opposites to wholesome acts like generosity, loving kindness, that is metta, or wisdom. Sometimes our behavior may be determined by deep underlying tendencies like lust, doubt, conceit, or grudges. Sometimes you keep a grudge birth after birth. Our sensory contact with the external world also could lead to both attraction and revulsion, and our interpretation of them. We interpret what happens, and then that interpretation may be all wrong, but still we think it is the truth. May cause karma. If attracted, one may wish to possess. If you dislike something, then it might even lead to hurting others or even insulting or abusing. Now, the fourth factor in the Nama Rupa group, right? The fourth factor is phassa or contact. Phassa or contact could be through the senses or the mind. It could be the senses that contact, or it could be the mind. This contact happens by the sense faculty, sense object, and the sense awareness coming together. Just like in healing, the three things have to come together. It's a physical action. Another kind of contact is through the mind, where the mind labels the object of contact. For instance, one may see a red flower. Though one knows the color red, it's by mind consciousness that one really understands the flower is red. The fifth factor is manasikara, or attention, the most important one. Here, attention means being heedful of the object. Without this mental factor, knowing or becoming aware cannot take place. But certain conditions are necessary. That particular sense faculty, say the eye, if it's the eye, then the eye must be in good condition. If it is the ear must be in good condition. Right? So, this particular faculty must be undamaged. In order to hear or see or taste or whatever. Also, the external objects must be within range. If it is very far away, you won't be able to understand it. And then the act of attention must be properly given. So you see, unless you really give attention, you won't see it. If these conditions are not fulfilled, awareness or cognition will not happen. Many students who fail at examinations do not understand the importance of this factor, manasikara, or attention. Now, let's take up the other part of Nama Rupa, that is form or Rupa. This denotes the four great elements and their derivatives, right? So derivative means from the form itself, certain other things appear from the form. That is why they are derived from the form. So they are called derivative. By earth, now you know we call these elements Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi, right? Apo means water. Tejo means heat. Vayo means air. Patavi means earth. So, earth actually doesn't mean the earth there. It means the quality. That is, the earth is meant, by earth is meant solidity and hardness. When you say water, it is cohesion and fluidity. When you say fire, heat or cold. When you say air, mobility and stretching. The form has derivatives such as the shape. Now the shape of a person or whatever, shape. The shape of a table is not the same as the shape of a chair. So shape. Then color of the body, movement, the senses, breath, eating and digestion. All these are derivatives. You can think of many more. The impermanence, suffering and non-self nature of the form is not seen by the ordinary worldling. That's why the Buddha advised looking at the parts of the body to get a real picture. Then one could see the impurities, the change in nature, the uncontrollability. You cannot control the body. You know, it ages, it falls ill until ultimately it dies. So these are uncontrollable. These will become visible and one may give up the attachment to the form. That is when you actually see it properly. The two sheaves living or dependent on each other in human beings are Nama Rupa and Vijnana. Now we looked at Nama Rupa and it's time to see what is meant by Vijnana. The word consciousness does not give the proper meaning of Vijnana. According to Bhikkhu Bodhi, consciousness, Vijnana, is the functional center of personal experience. While the outer world touches name and form, it is Vijnana or consciousness that experiences, recognizes and interprets the action. According to the Dhamma, consciousness or Vijnana and Nama Rupa come together through necessity, because it is necessary for them to come together. They are inseparable, really. They come together 4 times. 1, at conception. 2, gestation. 3, at the time of birth. 4, during the course of life. Independent origination, Nama Rupa and Vijnana are the only 2 links that have a reciprocal relationship. Now, there are 12 links in dependent origination, but only these 2 come are mutually, related one to the other. Vijnana or mind or consciousness does not stop even for a moment during the day and the night. And it changes in many ways. You see, while it is working, functioning, it is changing all the time. Having arisen in one way, it ceases in a different way. Like a monkey that moves from tree to tree, holding one branch and grabbing another, lets go of that branch and holds on to the next one. The mind too changes by turning from one object to another every second. Though it appears firm or stable, consciousness is just a flux that arises in moments of being conscious. If you look at your mind, you will find these things as they are given in the Dhamma. When things are happening, you just look at the mind. You will see this, how the mind changes. But to those that believe in the theory of an eternal soul, it's this same consciousness or vijnana that is taken as the soul. You see, sometimes now they talk of soul, it is the vijnana. The Buddha tells Mogaraja, that is a person who lived at that time, during the Buddha's time, to abandon the views about soul and person or being and see as empty or sunya. Sunyata is the deepest reality of things. It means that anicca or impermanence is a characteristic of everything that is made up of parts, like our body. It's impermanent. And all things are dependent on each other. Even the trees and the animals and the human being all depend on each other. Through insight, we should bridge the gap between appearance and reality. The Buddha says that the ordinary person finds it hard to realize the three characteristics of anicca, that is impermanence, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, non-self. But seeing the growth and decline of the body, the ordinary person might experience a revulsion for the body. You see, because though we grasp the body, it is really the mind that is grasped as me and mine. For a long time it has been grasped like that. So it is very difficult to give up the mind. But sometimes even an ordinary person might get, might abandon the body, thinking that it is changing or impermanent. Understand it. Vijnana or consciousness is a trickster that makes us believe that a person is walking, sitting, eating, talking, sleeping, etc. But it's an illusion. The Buddha compares vijnana or consciousness to a magician who displays a magical illusion because it is insubstantial and cannot be grasped. It's even more transient and fleeting than an illusion. For it gives the impression that a person acts, speaks, etc. with the same mind, right? Now, the mind, when you start doing something, changes. You see? So, but people think that it is the same mind that goes on from one end to the other. But at each action, the mind changes and is different. Though it's necessary to clean our body daily, it's equally important to clean our minds, for that is where all decisions are made and all actions are planned and plotted. If properly guided, the mind could be our helper and guide instead of our enemy that creates bad karma through anger, jealousy, pride, etc. Then constructive opposites, emotions like tolerance, altruistic joy, humility, compassion might take over. This cannot happen suddenly. We must exert our total effort to practice even for an hour daily. See the different parts of the body while meditating. See the air entering and leaving. When you eat, see how taste occurs at the tongue. When touch occurs, see how it happens and ends. If you see the different sense organs at work, you will understand this body or rupa in a way never seen before. Each sense organ has to be seen separately and not together. Even walking is not done by a person. When walking, try to see the movement as if watching from outside. Our health is transformed when we stay in the present. Physical health and the mind and inner present emotions stay pure and clean. The past is gone. When keeping the mind in the present, emotions stay pure and clean. For one could transform emotions by changing the negative to the positive. That can be done only in the present. Everybody wants to be happy. Do they find it all the time? Some may say, not every day, but sometime. Others may say, not at all. Why? Because we always try to find happiness through our senses. Even mundane happiness cannot come from the outside world that we receive through the senses. Meditation can change our attitude and wishes. We'll become more understanding, develop compassion, see the suffering of others, and we'll want to help. If we help others and show compassion, we'll be content and happy. This happiness can lead us towards the liberation, which is our goal. We should see the two bundles of Nama Rupa and Vijnana in their proper context. And as Venerable Sariputta said, if one falls, the other two will fall down, and because there is no support. Thank you. So, if there are any questions, please ask. Then, shall we do a little meditation? Please sit down properly, that is, with your back straight, with the head, and sitting properly with your hands in front, one on top of the other, the right hand on top of the left hand, the usual posture, or you can keep them on your knees if you are used to that. Breathe. Have a few deep breaths. Now, close your eyes. Now, with your mind's eye, we will look at this body. We will be putting this sutta into practice. That is the Vijnana and the Nama Rupa, right? We will be putting them into practice. With the mind's eye, we will be looking at the body. So take your focus to the top of your head. If you like to keep your eyes open, you can keep them open, but normally we close our eyes. Look at the sensations that you feel at the top of your head. It may be pain, or it may be the air on your head, which might be comforting. Go down to the back of your head and the sides of your head. Now take your focus to your face. See the forehead, the eyes, the lid closed, but still you can see the light. That is mostly the mind. Now go down to the cheeks. You feel the air on your cheeks. You can feel the breath. Take a few breaths in the normal way, not deep breaths, but just normally. Look at the air goes in and comes out. Go down to the neck. Now you feel the clothes, whatever clothes you have on your neck. See the shoulders, Are you slouching or are you keeping your shoulders straight? Is there any pain or are you comfortable? You feel the clothes on your body now. So the sensation is different. Go down the chest. Do you feel the heart thumping, rising and falling? Go down to the abdomen. Again, there is the rise and the fall. What is that? The air, the element, air element. Now go down, go to the back, to the bottom of your neck. Feel the shoulders, the shoulder blade, the back, go down. You will feel the buttocks sitting down. Now, there is no difference between the feet and the body. The same hardness, the same softness, whatever the feel, softness or hardness, you feel it there at the bottom, at the bottom. Now go down to the thighs. Have your legs crossed and the arms on your thighs. See where the fingers are.
You get dizzy. Take a rest.
You feel the sensations of the fingers touching each other. The warmth, the hands, you feel the hands hanging down from your shoulders. Now come back to the knees and the lower legs. And the feet. The feet and the hands are also very sensitive. The toes. So you have scanned the body from the top to the bottom. So you can go back from the bottom, from the toes to your head, top of your head. Just have a look at the way it is, the way it is now. Slowly open your eyes. Do you have any questions to ask?
Bhikshuneen Mahansa,
Yes.
when we learn about 5 aggregates, they are Rupa and Nama in 2 different sections. So, in Nama, like Vedana, Passa, Sankara, Vijnana is going together. And Rupa section, those 4 elements in Rupa. So here today you explain Nama, Rupa and Vijnana. So please can you explain it more little details?
Now, in the aggregate, the Buddha has given that form. You know, in different sections, you will find these same Nama Rupa and consciousness given in different ways and described in different ways. Now, according to the aggregates, the 5 are form, feeling,
Yeah.
perception, volition, and consciousness.
Consciousness, yes.
Right? Those 5. Now, in this, you don't find the same, the 4 are there. The feeling, perception,
Volitional formation and
those 3 are there, right? And then you get intention and attention.
okay.
And the form is separate form, right?
Yeah.
Form, you get you find them separately given. Form and nama and rupa, right?
Rupa.
But consciousness is made into a different section or given separately, because this particular one, the Venerable Sariputta was answering the question of Mahakottita, Venerable Mahakottita. And therefore, he started with aging and death, right?
Yeah.
He asked, how does aging and death come? And then the Venerable Sariputta said, it's because of birth. And then Venerable Mahakottita again asked, how does birth come? And then because of existence. And like that goes on, right? Till the end. And then it's very interesting, because this is a very special kind of sutta, where you find that the last 2 are linked together, right? That is, when he comes to Nama Rupa, he says Nama Rupa depends on consciousness, and consciousness depends on Nama Rupa, which is quite true. Now, when you if you look at our own, mind and body, you will see that everything that now say, let us take an example. Now, if you say that we are watching a drama, or something that you're watching on TV. Now, you watch with your eyes, right? Now, that is Rupa, that belongs to the Rupa, right?
Yeah.
The eyes. But it is the mind that is looking at it. Actually, through the eyes, if the mind does not get the consciousness to see it, then, as I told you, the 3 things have to come together. Now, here the object is the TV, right?
Yeah.
TV. So, the object, that is you're watching a drama or something on the TV. That is the object. Then, there is the I.
I.
Now, even if those two are there, if consciousness did not come, you will never see that. Say, while you are looking at it, you hear a sound. What happens? Suddenly your mind goes to the sound. And then at that moment, you don't see, but you hear.
Yeah.
So it is like that. It's very interesting if you watch your mind and body, how it works.
Yeah.
Then you will realize what they say is quite true. Right? So and also the impermanence of everything. It is only by watching, seeing, and understanding and being aware that we can really understand this body and mind. Otherwise, we go on thinking of this body as one solid thing, right? It is not solid at all.
Yeah.
Something that is in flux all the time, right? Just like the mind. And the mind is also in flux. The body is also like that because the body is also changing all the time. Though we don't see it. Unless we, see it in the sense we don't see the body changing. But say after a few years, if you look at the body, then you realize, it has changed. It has grown old.
Yeah.
The mind, very difficult to grasp. That is why Buddha compared the mind to a magician. The magician who makes, who suddenly, brings out a pigeon or something out of a box where there was nothing. All these things are illusions. So the mind also is capable of giving us all kinds of illusions. That is why we get into, arguments and get angry, start comparing. All these defilements are because of our not understanding this mind and body.
Bohoma Ping, thank you so much, Bhikkhunin Wahanse.
So, any other questions, please?
Okay.
No more questions. So then I'm going to say we will meet in 2 weeks' time, perhaps.
Thank you so much, Mihinin Hansen.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming and listening. And
Thank you, Ayah.
Thiruvan Saranai.
to all of you.
Saranai.
May all of you be well, happy, and peaceful.